This week's astrology has a lot of movement happening. We have Venus changing signs, we have Mars and Saturn in communication, and we also have a very aspected full moon. So let's get started. Let's recap the energy of the moon during this week. So we start off the week with a moon in Sagittarius at the later degrees, and that's on Sunday. And around late Sunday, early Monday, the moon goes into Capricorn, and then the moon ingresses to Aquarius Wednesday, and then the moon ingresses to Pisces Friday and is there for the weekend. So then by that point, we have a new forecast for the week to speak about. So we're starting from mutable to mutable Sagittarius, all the way to mutable Pisces energy, and then we end the week that way. So that's the flavor of the moon. Now on Monday, Venus makes an opposition to a retrograde Pluto, which is a purging aspect. Now Venus and Pluto are discussing very heavy themes. Venus in the sign of Cancer still at this point is talking about her emotions and how things made her feel and how lack of nurturing or crossing of boundaries or disrespectful actions still are hurtful and something that is carried very deep. So Venus is ready to discuss these things. Now, Pluto retrograde will bring some internalization, but this is ideal to purge things out quickly. This is removing toxins from the body, whether it's like physical toxins or energetic toxins from the body. It's also talking about severing behaviors that are no longer serving you around the dynamics of love and power. Now, Venus being in the sign of Cancer still at this point, when she makes an exact opposition to Pluto, the moon had just entered the sign of Capricorn, and the moon is influencing Venus as Venus is in the moon's ruling house. So this is also bringing this energy in to the Capricorn house and a lot of dynamics around going deep within and letting things out, emotions that have been brewing inside you for such a long time. They're just going to be like pushed out. It's like that energy that when you gotta go, you gotta go. So it's similar to that, where just like things are gonna come out, and this is something that needed to come out so you're able to move on and you're able to no longer keep these emotions within, which are causing a lot of issues like self-esteem issues, health issues, self-worth issues, because Venus is in charge of how we love ourselves. And when it's an aspect to Pluto, Pluto questions behaviors, questions things or situations that maybe are not considered so loving. So Pluto brings the darkness into light so you can be more aware and then transform. In evolutionary astrology, Pluto's very important as it talks about the evolution of the soul. So when we do have a Venus opposition to Pluto, it is a quite deep and transformative transit, but it's a great opportunity, especially if you have planets around I want to say between 22 degrees all the way to the end 29 degrees of Cancer and Capricorn, because you're able to then feel this more personally within your chart and release everything that no longer serves you and create a new chapter in your life as you're evolving your soul, your mind, your spirit. So that's happening on Monday. Then we did start off the week with Mars squaring Saturn. So there was some tough energy there. They were both at 22 degrees. I did make a video in regard to that, so you guys can check that out. It's going to be listed as my recently posted video. We also have Venus making a trine to Neptune. So at the same time that Venus makes an opposition to Pluto, she makes a beautiful trine to Neptune. And Neptune Venus aspects are all about unconditionality. So at this point, Venus is still in Cancer, making a trine to Neptune in Pisces. So this is a water flowy trine. I love Venus Neptune aspects that are positive, like conjunctions, trines, and sextiles, because they put romance in the air, or they do help with feeling more love or more appreciation for things. This is a great aspect to just immerse yourself in music or spend the day being very artistic and drawing, writing poetry. This is also great for journaling. So at the same time we're having this deep purge, you can also be doing an activity such as something connected to art therapy. So you can maybe do some guided art meditation or automatic drawing and see what you come up with, and then analyze what you drew and what information you got from your artistic creation. So this can be also therapeutic and tapping into the energy of Neptune. It's something that gets really deep into that subconscious. So you just set the intention that whatever you're drawing is to release things that are not serving you and to tap into that subconscious. And you do it through this Venus trine Neptune aspect, which is very, very beautiful. We also have Venus making an opposition to the moon on Tuesday, as the moon is getting ready to leave the sign of Capricorn. And at the same time, Venus is still making that opposition to Pluto, as she's very close to Pluto. Remember, Pluto travels very slow. It's still a separating aspect, but Pluto is there. So you can start doing any of these activities where you're releasing all through Monday, Tuesday, and a little bit of Wednesday. That's when this energy is the strongest. Then on Wednesday, we have the sun forming a square to the north node and the south node, which are going to be big players in the full moon that happens the day after. On Thursday, that's when we have the full moon. We also have Venus going into the sign of Leo. So she separates from that intense opposition to Pluto, but now is going to be transiting the sign of Leo, which is squaring the nodes. So this Leo house is big in the activity that's happening right now, as Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and she's now in a house that's squaring that energy that she rules. So it's going to be a very powerful transit for Venus in Leo. Venus in Leo is actually a very lovely transit as well, as Venus enjoys the sign of Leo. She is not necessarily as feminine, but she's still very connected to the arts and creativity, which are all things that Venus likes. Now, on that same day, the sun makes a square to Uranus, and we also have Mars sextiling Neptune. And then we end the week with Mercury in Virgo making an opposition to the moon in Pisces. So Mercury in Virgo is actually a very great transit, and Mercury is the only planet in astrology that's considered exalted in one of the signs that it rules. So it functions very well in Virgo. This means that your Virgo house is reorganizing itself. Wherever you have this Virgo energy in your natal chart is structuring, it's perfecting, it's clearing, it's scheduling. So it's calendaring a very tight and concise routine. But when it makes that opposition to the moon, and then it also makes an opposition to Neptune shortly after, you see the energy of Virgo kind of get a little bit more blurry, a little bit less fine-tuned and focused. So it could be a time that you feel a little absent-minded, especially if you're a person that's ruled by Mercury, like Geminis and Virgos. They're going to get influenced a little more with this energy. So just keep in mind, it's going to feel a little bit like Mercury retro, but it's not Mercury retro yet. So let's go back to Thursday, the full moon in Aquarius. And this is the chart that I have up here. Now, the full moon in Aquarius is actually a very significant full moon because this is also a super moon. And this is the fourth super moon of the year. Now, when we think of the energy of a supermoon, it's much closer to the earth. And we know that the moon controls the water, the tides, influences the liquids on earth. This is the last supermoon of the year. And we ended up having 4 supermoons this year. Now, the moon does influence the energy, the liquids on earth. So as you can see, the intensity is much more magnified because we have a full moon, which is pulling in information. Also, full moons are all about the energetic feel of things, and the feminine energy is in flow. And whenever we have a full moon, the feminine and masculine energy are harmonizing and balancing. Now, in some situations, it may seem like themes around feminine or more subtle energies are fluctuating and more emotional or more highlighted or moody, like moody. And it's because the moon has fulfilled its strongest point. So it's illuminated in the sky and it's actually competing with the sun in some way, some shape, some form, as it is illuminating the sky just like the sun illuminates the sky during the day. So it's trying to compete for that fullness. Now, after the full moon, things tend to wane and we go into the fruition state where we can gather our harvest. But the full moon is a phase in which something comes into a culmination, but it's also connected with having great gratitude. It kind of highlights what is about to be given to you as a manifestation. So it's not necessarily a very strong manifestation point. It is a very strong point in the cycle that shows you this is what you can get. Think of it as a tree with fruit. The full moon would be when you find out that the tree has fruit. However, the fruit hasn't ripened, it still needs to stay on the tree so it can plump up. So then you can start picking it once it's ready, once the fruit is completely healthy and just needs, a few days off the tree to completely ripen. So this full moon is actually incredibly intense. There's a lot of things happening as we have the moon at 19 degrees forming a very close conjunction to Saturn at 22 degrees. And we also have the North Node at 17, and we have Uranus at 18 degrees, which is still triggering that Uranus conjunction to the North Node because Uranus is going to sit at that 18 degree mark for a while. We have Mars making its very close exit at 25 degrees Taurus, but he's still in the energy of Taurus. So he's still a big part in this square. And this is also something that affects the Scorpio house because that's where we have the South Node in Scorpio. And Mars is also the ruler of the South Node. So as you can see, everything that we've been hearing about the fixed signs is still into play. And this full moon is bringing that emphasis back. Now, in general, the moon in astrology, when we're looking at mundane interpretations, the moon represents the people and Saturn represents the governments. Now, Saturn in Aquarius has been bringing a lot of innovations and restructuring systems that are going to help humanity at large, that are supposed to be helping humanity at large. And in this full moon, since the moon is so close to Saturn, it is bringing up themes of being more centered and more serious and more detached from emotions so we can really intellectually process the news, the information, or the situations that we're about to have conscious awareness to. Now, I really do think that, and I'm a person that's really tapped into my emotions. In addition to having a lot of logic, I do have a Virgo moon, so I tend to bounce from my Pisces emotional sun to my Virgo moon, where it gets practical and more grounded. But I do feel that there's times that we have to, instead of embodying things just emotionally, we have to embody things logically and then detach from it so we can see the big picture. And this is easier said than done. And it's usually when we take perspectives. I like doing this exercise when I am dealing with a situation that is personal to me. And it's hard to see everyone's perspective in that situation or everyone's side of the story until you put yourself out of it and think of, oh, what if my friend was coming to me with this same exact situation? How would I answer them? How would I guide them, counsel them, or assist them in the question that they're asking? And when we leave that emotional attachment aside, we can see that we can take perspectives from all sides and come to a very neutral agreement that's benefiting the majority of the people. It might not benefit every single person in the situation, but it's going to be pretty neutral and benefit more people. So that is exactly what this moon and Saturn aspect is asking of us. We have to detach a little from our emotions, see the perspectives, and we might be triggered by having a very fixed mentality and not wanting to do a lot of changes or a lot of modifications because we do have a very strong square to the Taurus placements, but this is actually a separating square. And this means that the themes that come up right now are a continuation of what's been happening since later July. And you might hear new news or more information at this point, but because Mars is now going forward, and even though he doesn't favor the sign of Taurus as much, Mars is in a Saturn decan, and Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. So it actually gains some strength in this part of the Taurus house, so it can go and plummet through and take action and run to the end of the line, like get to the end of the race. So Mars is getting some assistance from Saturn there, and it's ready to go to the finish line. Additionally, Saturn at 22 degrees is bringing up themes in regard to government. Now, according to Nikola Stojanovic and his theory, the 22 degree was connected to Capricorn, which is all about structures, career, status, achievement, massive amounts of money, and themes around the parental axis. It's also a degree that's connected to blockages, delays, and some type of overpowering authority. So it's a very hard degree to deal with. Now, we started off the week with Mars forming an actual square to Saturn. At this point during the full moon, Mars is separating, and Mars is at 25 degrees, which is actually his degree, as the 25th degree is ruled by Aries. So here is Mars with a lot of dignity by decan, by degree, and also by leaving a very difficult square. Now, at the same time, we have Venus moving into the sign of Leo. No longer are the moods and the ebbs and flow of the Cancer house affecting us, because now Venus has entered Leo, which is going to be under the rulership of the Sun, and this is going to stabilize the energy of Venus a little, because now Venus is not changing archetypes every single time the moon goes into another sign. Now, Venus does form again some tough aspects, and she's going to be a big player this month, as then she forms squares to the planets as she rules in Taurus. Currently, she's also going to form an opposition to Saturn eventually in this transit. But Venus and Leo in general is talking about what we love, and also our creative and romantic side. It also brings in a lot of conversations about expressing things that you love in a way that are fueling your creativity, or you're creating a project or a venture such as self-employment to be considered a child of sorts. So you bring this project from beginning stages and then take it to something that may blossom and grow. So it's a birthing phase. It's very fertile. Now, Venus is not super fertile in the sign of Leo, but she is very romantic, which can seed opportunities to conceive or to expand the family, or just to expand love in general. So I find the Venus Leo transit very pleasant, but she has been having some tough aspects because of all the fixed energy with the other planets layout. Venus here is just continuing that conversation that the Sun started. Now, the full moon is happening exactly at 19 degrees, and the 19th degree is actually ruled by Venus. Venus is currently at 0 degrees. Now, any planet at 0 degrees is actually ruled by the sign that the planet is in. So if Venus is at 0 degrees of Leo, the 0 degree is going to correlate to the energy of Leo. So based on this, Venus is in the degree that is influenced by the Sun, and the Sun is in the degree that Venus influences. 19 degrees has an angelic protection, as it's an energy that attracts a lot of harmony and balancing. It's actually connected to Libra, and Libra is very social. It's also a negotiating energy. It's a very diplomatic and justice-seeking energy. It likes to make sure that there is a beautiful balance within the parties, so everyone is happy. And maybe not everyone gets equal share, but it always thrives to make sure that it's justified and that it's more balanced than off balance. So like that, everyone is pretty much satisfied. So in general, when you see a 19-degree full moon, and then we also see that the moon's ruler, which is Saturn in this case, at 22, and the sun is at 19 degrees, which is being influenced by Venus, the main influence here is governments and how they're harmonizing certain laws and systems, and how this is going to feel more of a benefit, or at least a sort of balancing act for both parties, the king, the king's court, and the kingdom, the subjects in the kingdom. So whenever we have a full moon in Aquarius, the real theme around this full moon is about freedom. And the people here are feeling some type of restriction in regard to their expression of freedom. The moon is in a Mercury decan, and Mercury is in great dignity. It is at 12 degrees, and that's a Pisces degree, so it becomes a little bit more unfocused and blurry. But this is just a phase of his Virgo transit where he just has to shift the focus. And in order for us to shift the focus, we have to go out of the trans a little, go back into it. So it's just like a little web and flow of him being able to change gears. So as you can see, there's a lot of activity, a lot of push in the fixed signs. There's also some positive things forming. The last one I wanted to focus on was Mars forming a applying trine to Pluto. And whenever Mars and Pluto are in conversation, especially a positive aspect, it brings tremendous power and execution. And these two are a big deal right now because the South Node is in Scorpio, and Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio, while Pluto is the modern ruler. So them being in conversation just talks about that we are able to clear themes around the Scorpio house, which could be connected to budgeting, to loans, to taxes, to assistance of some sort that has conditions of paying back, to inheritance. So these things are going to come up, and they might not be easy to experience. An example, there might be something tied into an inheritance that you received, and now you're having to revisit because there are some legal things that might have came up. Again, the 19th degree is Libra rules the justice system. So it could be that things come up where you have to kind of tidy up, but it's just finishing up the process. It's really cleansing that house. So pay attention to all your fixed houses, especially if you have any planets in the fixed signs, or you have your moon, sun, ascendant in those fixed signs. You're doing great cleansing around that axis. And lastly, we have the part of fortune, which is that calculation of the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. And again, this chart is casted for the Los Angeles area. We have the part of fortune at 13 degrees in Cancer, and that is exactly where fixed star Sirius is sitting. Now, we've started the week with the Lionsgate portal, which is when the sun hits that 15-degree mark of Leo. That is the middle of the zodiac sign of Leo. And it's also connected to the heliacal rising of Sirius, because the sun is far enough for us to see Sirius rising in the morning right before the sun is rising. And this marked the beginning of the new Egyptian year. And we have the part of fortune right on that star. So the part of fortune is not a point or a planet that we're going to visually see, but it is an energetic calculation. It is an energetic point. And sitting on Sirius is just again bringing in that coding that is happening, and we're getting encoded new information in regard to the conscious evolution. This is what the age of Aquarius is. This is why it's such a big deal that we're transmuting from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius, because even though the age of Pisces created a lot of spiritual foundations in us, it was more connected to the subconscious. So a lot of the spiritual foundations also got lost in the subconscious, and we were not made aware conscious, versus the energy of Aquarius is to make the subconscious conscious, meaning we need to not forget what we learned or what we embodied through the energy of Pisces or the age of Pisces. We need to make our mind, body, and soul aware, so then we can tap into those talents and create a better humanity for ourselves, create a better life here on earth. And this is why the age of Aquarius is super exciting, because these themes are coming into consciousness, and it's not just coming in where one individual is becoming aware of this energy or these new influences. It's a massive amount of people. Now, not everyone is going to understand this. There's just some people that they're not meant to. Everyone has their place, but there is going to be a huge majority of people that are ready for this information. They're ready to change. They're ready to evolve. And this is not just because they hear other people talk about this. It's because they feel a true calling within their heart center, within their third eye, within their crown, that they're being called to accept this information and to evolve to a new person, evolve this new soul, and really unlock the hidden gifts within. So it's a beautiful, beautiful point to be highlighted, especially during this week, since we do have Sirius that's going to be visible in the sky. And that's going to start on Monday. I am going to be hosting a Lionsgate portal. If you guys are interested or you catch this early enough to enroll, I advise you to. You can always catch the replay. We're going to do a quantum jumping meditation, and I also explain more on Sirius, and you get to learn all that. So you can always catch the recording, as this is going to be active all the way to the 16th. So if you're interested, go ahead and click on the description. You'll see a link there. So I really want to thank you for your time. Thank you for being here and your energetic support. Hope to catch you live on IG for AstroTalks Ask the Astrologer segment. This was the scoop for the week. This was the news of the stars. And as always, stay curious, keep an open mind, and love and light. So, what's in your stars? Catch you later. Bye.